Hey y'all, thanks for coming back again to talk about the sermon. Today we're talking about December 12th sermon that Pastor Amber preached. And, you know, I know this is part of our Advent series, but I've often thought about the Israelites' cry to God for a king as it could be categorized as be careful what you wish for.
Absolutely.
Um, I was just, unlike you, I have not seen Hamilton. Something about breaking out into song for no apparent reason just bothers me. But I did get the gist of what you were saying that the King George was King George.
Mm-hmm.
No, okay. King George kept saying that the colonists, you will be back. You will want the fold of everything, and uh, you know, talk to me a little bit further about the setup there. I know even the names of the Bibles, first it was judges and then it was kings. What we think of judges and what judges were in the Bible are two completely different things. Is that not correct?
Yeah, and the judges who helped sort of keep the people of God, the Israelites, settling some disputes, interpreting some law. I mean, that's very similar, and the role of the kings very similar to what you might think. In fact, though, in America, we might not even have a comparable thing anymore. We rebelled against King George.
Right.
We rejected the monarchy. So, but the judgeship, isn't as far off, I think, for our. But the point is that when the people of God wanted a king because they wanted to be like other nations who had a ruler like a king and a monarchy, and they wanted the king to lead them in battle. And it was definitely an inferiority complex there, wanting to be like other nations. But God wanted his people to be distinct. And
Right.
he was the ruler. He was their leader. He was their protector. And so, but they said, no, we want a king. And in 1 Samuel 8, God says to the Samuel, the prophet and priest, they've rejected me.
Right.
Not you, not your advice. They're rejecting me by wanting a king. Um, and so, yeah, the people of Israel had their rebellion.
Right.
Their,
And that was a key theme that you talked about throughout the sermon. You even ended the prayer with "We are a rebellious people," but so was Jesus, and I think that rebellion leads to a revolution. And I just wondered, if obviously there is some good to rebellion, but how we align the word rebellion, which usually has a negative connotation, and put it with Jesus and say this is a righteous rebellion, and what your thoughts on that might be.
yeah, so the people of God, like I said in 1 Samuel 8, rebelled against God.
Right.
And that's really what the prophets in the Old Testament are talking about, book after book, year after year, is their rebellion against God. Jesus never rebelled against God's will. In fact, he surrendered to God's will. And, even in the garden, he said, this isn't my will, but if this is your will, sort of let it be done. And let it be done on earth as it is in heaven. So there's a big difference there. You're talking about rebelling against God's plan, right, and God's purpose, um, versus rebelling against, say, earthly authorities.
Right.
Now that's interesting because there were people in the time, zealots they called them, in the time of Jesus, who did want Jesus and the Messiah to rebel against earthly authorities, to be almost like a king again, to be a leader, a militant leader, who was leading them in battle. Like the zealots wanted that. And so actually that's not the kind of rebellion that Jesus came to bring. So what kind of rebellion does Jesus bring? That's very interesting. So there's something called the two kingdoms, doctrine of two kingdoms. There's the kingdom, right, of God, and then there's the kingdom of man, or sort of earthly kingdoms.
Right.
And the rebellion, if you will, is to say that we are part of the kingdom of God. And that is where our allegiance, our loyalty, our faithfulness is to the kingdom of God. And that actually is the rebellion.
And just a total play on words, we always think of rebellion, or at least I do, I always think of rebellion and warrior going together. But it still is shocking to me today every time I open the Bible and think about it, as it probably was to the Israelites at the time, of yes, Jesus is a rebellious person, but he rebels with love and kindness towards others, and to usher in the kingdom of God. And I just think that's, unless I'm just in like skim over mode, that gets me every time that yes, it's a rebellion. Yes, it's a revolution, but it's a revolution of love and kindness towards each other.
Yeah.
So,
if you look at the letters of revolution, there's actually love in there.
There you go. All right. Well, I appreciate you sitting down and talking to me about this. But that's all the time we have for this week, and we hope to see y'all again soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks.